Good evening and welcome to, are we doing good on the audio, Christine? Good evening and welcome to the Anne Arundel Camera Club meeting for Thursday, December 5th. My name is John Milliker. I'm the club president for the 2024-2025 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and it exists to promote the arts, science, and education in all aspects and fields of photography. For more information about us, please visit arundelcameraclub.org. And whether you're watching us live or catching a recorded session, we'd love to invite you to join us in person as we meet every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. at Severna Park Baptist Church in Severna Park, Maryland. Before we move to tonight's contest, do we have any announcements from officers? Perfect. Can we get Susan a microphone and have her chat about the field trip with us? Come on up here, Susan.
For those that didn't catch the change on the field trip to Arlington Cemetery, we moved it from Saturday, December 14th to Sunday, December 15th. The cemetery is going to be chock-a-block with people and activity on the 14th, participating in the Wreaths Across America. The tram tours will not be running that day. Parking may be difficult, walking may be difficult if they section off areas where the volunteers are laying wreaths. So we moved it to the 15th. The newsletter and probably the website have many, many details. You need to get familiar with the cemetery's policies and the whole process. You do need proper ID to get in the building or get in the grounds. Everything starts at the visitor center. It's suggested that for those of us that are able to meet up and travel through the grounds together to meet at 12 noon. So go back to Mike's details in the November newsletter. I will send out an email probably Thursday the 12th. And if people want to share comments saying, yes, I'm going, I'll look for you at the visitor center. If people want to carpool, it's a good way to engage in a conversation. But because once you get there and you get into the cemetery itself and ride that tram, it's an on again, off again, and people are likely to separate if someone wants to photograph one area longer than other people do. So it's kind of difficult to stay together, but good communication before the day will be helpful in making it all happen.
Okay, since that's the announcements, let's go over our upcoming schedule. Next week is our Christmas party, so don't come to the church. It will be at the Hockles house. The information and the address should be in the newsletter, and an email will be sent out if it hasn't already.
So apparently I have 6 at 6:30 in the advertisement. I don't know what time it is. What time should we be there?
Whenever you arrive.
All right.
2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Okay, so the newsletter said 6:30.
I think we had 6 and 6:30.
6 and 6:30. So
What's the difference?
6:15. Okay, and then as Susan said, we have our field trip to Arlington National Cemetery on December 15th. December 19th is our next print contest with the theme of autumn. And then just a reminder that the 26th, there will be no meeting because of Christmas. And then the 2nd, we have a program by Hazel Meredith on alternative visual artistry. January 9th is our next digital contest with the theme of open. January 16th is a program by Jackie Colstock on geometric shapes. January 23rd is the next print contest with the theme of open. And then January 30th is a tabletop night. If you're interested in bringing anything for tabletop night, I am going to be handing that evening over to Ron and Mike, who have volunteered to help because John and I will be out of town that week. So if you want to bring anything or participate, please let them know what you're bringing so that we have enough things to help everyone have a good evening. Bring your cameras. Tabletop night is always fun. We bring light setups, we bring things to photograph, and it is always a great learning experience, especially for newer members. And that's all the announcements. I'll turn the evening over to Ron, who will introduce our judge for tonight.
Okay. All right. Before we get started, we ought to I want to thank Bob and Sue for all the work they did, particularly Bob, to get this contest going tonight, because it's always a few hours on his part to organize the files and get them all in good format. So Bob, thanks for all that, and putting up with my 28 different phone calls on that too, so my apologies. I don't have any other announcements on MPA this week. We do have 3 MPA contest winners. Mike, I shared that information with you for who had won the MPA contest from our organization, and we'll get something out on that
Yeah, I'm gonna put something in
future
the
newsletter. Yeah, that'd be great. And yeah, we're all proud about having Tim. Thank you for winning and
Representing, yeah.
representing us. Yeah. Okay, I got. Luckily enough, I got Ed as our judge tonight. Ed Palzinski is really important to MPA in the respect that he is the chair of the competition committee, the contest committee, the judging committee, I guess you want to call it that, and helps to get the judges organized and trained and remediated and up to date on some new things. And he put together a workshop couple of weeks ago that Bob and I attended on prints, and something we really want to build up some more interest in the club in, because it's really the second part of photography that's really takes it to the whole other level. So Ed, thank you for all that and all the leadership with that organization. It's been great. Now, Ed is also with Silver Spring, isn't it? Gaithersburg Club, that's right. And I've judged over there a time or two, and he is always very competitive with his own work. So he's really an outstanding photographer himself and traveled pretty extensively. Now, one of the things he's going to do is talk a little bit about a upcoming opportunity for travel to Iceland that he's been associated with and been working on. And so I'll give you a few minutes to talk about that, Ed.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Number one, good evening, and thank you for inviting me again. What Ron had mentioned was I have an associate within our club who has been running a foundation on sustainability for about 20 years now. And he holds trips that go to Iceland, Southeast Asia, Africa, etc. And he runs a program that's actually college accredited. He does high school students as well as college students, and runs them through a 5-day program on sustainability. The foundation is called CEL, or Center for Ecological Living and Learning. His Iceland trip is actually quite unique. And as I was explaining to Ron and John before we started the meeting here, when I saw the itinerary, it reminded me of being assigned a Nat Geo assignment if I were to go to Iceland, because the agenda for the actual 5-day trip, there's 2 days of travel, therefore 5 days on the ground in Iceland, is having a dinner with an Icelandic family at their farm with all the photographic opportunities, a ferry to an island just south of Selfoss, nearby where you're staying, to a puffin rookery. That's pretty much a day trip. Obviously, the Golden Triangle landscapes, which is quite near where you'll be staying. You'll be very near Reykjavik, which is the capital city as well, and there'll be a tour of that. And also a plant tour of a geothermal plant, which of course Iceland is famous for. Your actual accommodations will be in a place called, will be an eco village, which is in Solheimur, Iceland. And this eco village has been in existence since the mid-30s, the 1930s. So there's a very long and proud tradition of ecological living as well as sustainability. So this is all part of that trip. I sent Ron a flyer and an application. And my friend who is running this program, Dave Oakes, his contact information is in that flyer. So if you're interested in attending this particular workshop, please feel free to contact Dave. It's actually, I'm sure a lot of you are asking how much is it? And the price of the workshop is only $3,800, which is quite a bargain nowadays. And that includes all of your transportation, food, and cost of staying. You only have to pay for your airfare to and from Keflavik Airport, in which you will be picked up by Dave. He has all the transportation worked out. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Ron. Thank you, Ron.
Ed, do you have the dates for the workshop by chance?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. Let me just bring up. It will be the end of May in 2025, and the dates are May 25th through the 31st. So Sunday through Saturday.
Sounds good. And we'll send the flyer out tomorrow and the email so you can take a look at that and see if anything there interests you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're here this evening for Autumn, our contest, our digital contest. Seemed like it was an easy topic back in the spring when we came up with this, and now we're thinking like, not so sure. So we'll see how it pays out tonight. Ed's really good at giving good feedback on the images, and keep in mind we have print coming up in 2 weeks, so you have a chance to take what you learned tonight as you try to tune up your images. I'm still working on mine. This has been one of the hardest images we've had so far. All right, Ed, we're going to go through the images.
Well, let me say a few comments first.
Yeah.
Whenever I get an assignment to judge, I like to literally study the theme. And in this particular case, autumn. And I actually looked up the definition. Autumn is a season that I find especially attractive. And some of the reasons are the fact that it is a transition period of weather between summer and winter. And one of the definitions that I particularly enjoy exploring is autumn being defined as maturity verging on decline, which some of the images tonight do show that. So I was very pleased to see that. So presenting the whole concept of seasonal change in an image format is something exactly that I'll be looking for tonight. And obviously I'll be looking for something that's going to be unique, something I haven't seen before. Obviously, there are technical qualities, the impact of your image when we first see it, how is the light working within your image, your colors, your tones, complementary composition, etc. One of the other things that I'll be talking about tonight also is what's called visual weight. Visual weight is a great term for photography. It is an artistic term, but I think explaining visual weight, and I will do that tonight with several of the images, will give you a greater appreciation for you having the viewer look at what you want the viewer to look at. So that will come up as we talk about some of the images tonight. So with that, I am good to go. So thank you.
John, I'm going to turn this over to you at this point.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
Jim.
have, thank you. We have novices on the screen, starting with 01 color reflections. Are you there, Ed?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Here we go.
I have a split screen, so the image is small.
Perfect. And that's perfect because you have the image in full resolution on your computer, and you've got the stream in a small window, so we can just kind of keep a checks and balances there. Number
Great,
one is color reflections.
And we're going to go through all 31 images, and John, let's read the title, and then we'll come back around the second round for you to give your commentary and the in-out rounds and so on.
Great, thank you.
Number 2, Misty Morning 2. Number 3, Catching the Light. Number 4, Crazy Gourds. Number 5, Autumn Exercise. Number 6, Misty Morning. Number 7, Fall in DC. Number 8, End of Season. Number 9, Fall Falls. 10, West Virginia Tree Line. 11, Flock. 12, Autumn Reflection. 13, Nobody Home. 14, Sunset on Jane's Island. 15, Beauty of Aging. 16, Morning Light on the Water. 17, Scenic Road. 18, Angel. 19, Safe Landing. Number 20, Autumn Reflections. Number 21, Colored Autumn. Number 22, Autumn Reflections. Number 23, Floating, oops, did I go past?
Yeah. 22 was taken out.
Oh, sorry, yep, I saw that email come through. Let's scratch him out. 23 is Floating Leaves. 24, Aspens on the Road to Kanab, Utah. 25, Calming Colors. 26, Ewing Pond. 27, Autumn Breeze. 28, Autumn. 29, Clapping. 30, Falling Leaves. And 31, Chinese Lanterns in Alley. That gives us a total of, what's that, 30 images. That should be, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, 1 through 4th and 3 honorable mentions. Perfect. So that is a total of 7 images.
6 total. 6?
7.
Oh, no, you go 1 through 4.
1 through 4 and 3 honorable mentions.
Okay, so that's 7. Thank you.
I am back on number 1, and I will shut up for you to give us some feedback and let me know an in or an out.
Great. Thanks, John. Obviously, the initial impact of any image is very, very important. Love the colors in this, and I think that given the light, which is really not the best, but given the light that you have, this is probably the best that one's going to be able to do. I would have liked a little bit better perspective also for you to focus on the actual colors. So moving a little bit maybe over more to your left to catch more of the trees and more of the reflection, I think really would have given you a better and more dramatic image. If you're going to show some of the sky as you have here, try playing with a little bit of corner vignetting or darkening to draw the viewer's attention back to the trees, because the most or the brightest part of this image is the sky. Out.
Number 1 is out. Number 2.
Extremely moody and very impactful. You're looking at this beautiful leading line of the fence that comes in from the left and then disappears almost in the middle of this particular image. I think the water at the bottom of the fence line, you might be able to just crop this a little bit more to bring the viewer's attention to that fence line, because that's exactly where my eye will go once I get away from the mist and into the actual image itself. You've got a nice gradient of light, if you will, going from bright on the right to darker as you go to the left. So again, your eye will tend to move around this particular image. In.
Number 2 is in. Number 3.
This is beautiful light taken in the morning or in the evening, where you just have the shadows starting to creep in and you have this wonderful brightness just going across your image that you've captured within the trees here. Again, maybe a different perspective, closer, remove the road, remove the front lawns and the ditch, to have the viewer actually look at these trees. This is one of the images that the whole concept of visual weight comes to mind. If it's autumn and you want to show the trees, you want to show the color, you want to show the lighting, your trees are occupying maybe 25% of this image, maybe a third. So again, move around, try different compositions. The classic phrase is work the scene, where you move around and take different images. I love the concept of doing this. Some photographers call them sketches, where you're actually taking quick shots just to see what they look like. And this kind of gives you a better feel for what might come across a completed image. Out.
Number 3 is out. Number 4.
Lovely colors. This is what autumn is all about, the harvest. This is certainly another component of the season. And some of these pumpkins and gourds, yes, can really develop some very, very interesting, unique textures. And I just smiled when I first saw this. There's a market nearby that's very famous here in Montgomery County called Butler's, and we'll very often go up there and do similar kinds of photography with what they have out, both near the market as well as in the fields. So this is very, very well done. One of the negatives, though, could be that the pumpkins right at the bottom of the frame are not just totally sharp. They're a little out of focus. Your middle and your green plants are very well exposed and are sharp, but the bottom part isn't. So I would next time try a little bit smaller aperture, or if you have time or the ability, kind of do a quick picture where you focus on the front and the middle, and then do a quick focus stacking. That's a very easy technique to do, especially with something like this. But this is done well. In.
Number 4 is in. Number 5.
Love the action here. You've got this beautiful dappled light coming through the colored leaves. You have a gentleman with a couple of his dogs running along the path. It really does tell a very, very nice story. Cut off a little bit from the bottom to really focus more on the runner. And I don't know what kind of lens you had, but maybe a little bit closer to make him a larger part of the image. Again, that is an interesting part of the image besides the colors. And you've certainly captured the colors and the mood here in terms of the actual season. In
Number 5 is in. Number 6.
This is exceptional. There's no other way that I can say this. You have an image here that is extremely impactful. You see this for the first time, and you just look through the mist, through the sky. You start to appreciate the colors. It's obviously fall. It's not overly processed, where you have the colors just screaming at you. They're very subtle, and everything meshes very well with your composition. You've got a beautiful foreground. You've got the mist in the lowland. Then you get up to the lines within your hills. You've got some great geometry here. You have a number of triangles pointing to that center of the image with the colored tree, and just the overall hint and tinge of that purple and the blues just really, really works well. In
Number 6 is in. Number 7.
nice attempt. I would like to see more of the Capitol. I know that's not the focus, and obviously I'd like to see some color. If this is autumn, one expects to see some color. And unfortunately, there's virtually no autumn colors here. So let me be very specific. And you've cut the Capitol building off at the bottom. You just don't want to do that, even though it may play a minor role within your image. But the fact that there's no autumn colors in here is one reason I'm going to take it out.
Number 7 is out. Number 8.
This is nice. This is a nice takeoff on very, very popular plant that a lot of photographers really cut their eye teeth on, but it shows the decay. This is one of the criteria of autumn, as I discussed right up front. And this is something that I want to see, because it is an interim period where you have a lot of plants, trees, leaves, seed pods. You have all the plants outside going through a huge transitional phase. And personally, I just find this season just fascinating for those reasons, as opposed to spring. I mean, you've got such a contrast in what is alive, what is supplement, or succulent, what is pliable, your greens versus your yellows and browns. The contrasts are just unbelievable. And this is very well done. All the tips of the dried leaves are sharp. You've got good lighting coming in from the side. You may have a couple hot areas here and there that you could very easily burn down, but this is very well composed. And you've got a hot area in the upper right-hand corner that I would tone down a little bit, but we'll keep this in.
Number 8 is in. Number 9.
Classic fall scene, little bit of yellows, not much orange, but still it's very easily recognizable. I love the slow shutter speed. It's very well composed. Nothing is really blown out. You've got a little bit of sky at the very, very top part of your frame that I would take care of, or just drop your frame down a little bit by cropping. But other than that, this is well done. If there's anything that I might want to see a little bit more of, and that would be maybe something a little bit more to the left, where I feel the cropping on the left may be a little bit too tight, because you do have the beautiful side ground, if you will, with the stone and the plants on the right. I feel as if you kind of cut the left off just a little bit too much, but we'll keep it in.
Number 9 is in. Number 10.
Another classic scene, Wild and Wonderful, West Virginia, with a beautiful leading line with the river down below in the valley. And this screams autumn without question. This is such a very well composed, very well processed. You have bright colors, but they're not garish, and they really complement each other very, very nicely. I know in some areas of the East Coast, the colors were very muted and it was rather drab and it wasn't spectacular at all. Whether or not this was actually how it was, it certainly was processed to make it look like that. If it wasn't like that, again, I'm just making the assumptions here. But this is a very, very good composition with a very high uh, border, if you will, and not a lot of clouds. You want to show a little bit of them, which is well done, and they're processed well. In
10 is in. Number 11.
nice concept, and getting birds in flight is really challenging. Unfortunately, this is what we would call a high frequency image, meaning you have a lot of edges. I mean, literally, you've got the leaves of the tree plus the birds, their wingtips, and all these edges that you're looking at. And it is an interesting thing to see. I could crop a part of this, the upper part and upper left side, and actually turn this into an abstract. But as far as the theme of autumn, it doesn't say autumn to me. So I'm going to take this out.
11 is out. Number 12.
Always nice to see reflections. Colors and water and plants in the fall are very, very favorite and very compelling scene to capture. This is done very well, although I will say that the bottom third of this particular image does really not contribute to the overall effect of the image. In fact, I would like to crop out the bottom third and maybe add a little bit more to the top to really have you focus on the colors within the trees. Yes, the reflections are nice, but they're not necessarily critical for this kind of image. You can have maybe 20% of the bottom to be your reflection, which would be fine, because this is what you want your viewer to look at. Again, if one were to talk about visual weight, you have more visual weight in this image showing the reflection than you actually do the colored trees. And that to me is a bit of a negative. So the next time, whoever the photographer was, the next time you go out, try and capture more of what you have on top there, and certainly keep the reflection, play with different compositions. But as you get into these sorts of scenes, you'll see the reflection sometimes can actually take away from your overall scene. And I feel that's what's kind of happening here. So out.
12 is out. Number 13.
Nice concept, showing where wildlife lives and showing the fact that, yep, no one's home. This is not breeding season. That's usually more in the spring and early summer. That is a cool thing to show. But here you have a very stark image, namely a birdhouse sitting right in the middle of your composition. If it were off to the side a little bit, and I don't mind center composition, so don't get me wrong, but with this particular theme, if it's going to be autumn, well, let's make it look like autumn and not have the birdhouse be the main part of your image. You have some bald sky up there, which I think does not really add much to this image. And maybe if you just stood more to the right to get a different perspective and a little bit more of the color with the field and the trees in the background, you really, you would have kind of gotten more focus in terms of the theme itself. So for that reason, I'm going to take this out.
13 is out. Number 14.
Autumn, autumn, color, autumn, trees, color. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Showing the lines within this image are good. The reflections in this image are good. Notice they're not 100% complete, but I'm looking for autumn. I'm looking for color. I'm looking for a change of season. This does not tell me there's a change of season going on. I like the fact that you took this at lower light, and so that's a good start right there. But with the theme being autumn, this just does not say that to me. Out.
14 is out. Number 15.
Here we are, the maturity and the movement towards death, if you will. And here we have some leaves that are in their last throes. Nicely isolated. Everything is tack sharp, beautiful bokeh. You've got your autumn colors in the background. They don't have to be in focus. You've got that hint of color. And of course, you have the shriveled leaves on this particular plant. This is what autumn is all about. In?
15 is in. Number 16.
To show and have a composition of a headland is actually very good. So I commend the photographer for trying to compose this into a fall shot. Unfortunately, it's not very sharp at all. It's very, very soft right in the middle where you have those pine trees, and I see very little color, and you've got two distracting items in here. You have what looks like to be a white bench or a bench with a white back or a chair of something right in the middle center left. And then you've got the little walkway, the little dot looks like. And my eye immediately goes there and just gets stuck. Try a different composition. I know that you can clone things out. So if you haven't gotten to that stage of post-processing, again, Lightroom and all the other easy to use programs, they all have that feature. Also, I don't know why the middle of your image is not in focus, but go back and just review where you actually put that focus point. Your backgrounds are fine. The sky's a little bald, but the part of the image to the left of your headland is actually done well. It's a little bit hazy, and that's fine. But the fact that the middle of the image is soft, there's very little color, I'll take this out.
16 is out. Number 17.
On the road in the fall. That's exactly what this image says. I would, though, like to see more of the road. The composition is good. You caught the tree with its vibrant colors very nicely, with the other trees also having color, but I feel as if you've cut too much of the bottom off. I want to see that road. I want to, as a friend of mine used to say, give me the foreground so I know where I'm standing. And I think that's a really good statement. In this particular case, I don't know where I'm standing because I don't see much of that road in which obviously this was taken. You could recompose by taking a little bit off the bottom and give me a little bit more on, a little bit off the top and giving me more on the bottom to, again, give me that grounding, give me a little bit of foreground so I know exactly where I'm standing, and you ground the entire image. Because it's been cut off like that at the bottom, I'll take it out.
17 is out. Number 18.
Visual weight. Half of this image is of the young lady. The theme is autumn. It's not portraits. I appreciate the fact that we can photograph people in the fall for autumn, but this just doesn't say autumn to me. As far as the portrait goes, the gal is composed nicely on the side. Processing exposure is good, but I want to see her eyes too. I mean, if you're going to do portraits, make sure you can see the people's eyes. You do have a little bit of fall color off to the left, but this to me is not autumn and just doesn't fit the theme. Out.
18 is out. Number 19.
Another fascinating image, talking and showing this movement towards vibrant and alive to dying. Um, this could have been staged. I've seen leaves caught in trees all the time, especially with the wind, especially like today. And you see all kinds of configurations. Again, good bokeh. Your leaf is pretty much totally in focus, except maybe the stem. That's okay. That's really not important because your eye goes directly to that yellow leaf. And I like the fact that you've got this horizontal composition going on. So you have a bit of a diagonal. It gives it a little bit of movement within the actual frame. In
19 is in. Number 20.
nice attempt here too. You've got the water, you've got reflections. This is a little bit better than say the previous one. However, focus. It appears to be soft again, right in the middle. I don't know if this was the same photographer using the same equipment, but you've got to have this be in sharp, in sharp focus, number one. The left side of the image tends to be a little bit hot. It's blown out a bit. So you need to tone that down. And again, just take a little bit off the bottom. I mean, I like the reflection, and this is a good example of not having to show the entire reflection. But I just feel as if you've lost something here because of the non-focus and the lack of, probably depth of field. Because the trees on the right, that trio of trees, is actually very, very interesting to look at. I don't know if you had a longer lens, maybe come in closer to it, where you actually were focusing on the color of the red tree in the middle and those three trees to the right. I would love to see a composition like that because you do have something nice here. But unfortunately, that left side being blown out and not in focus, in the middle not really being in focus either. I'm going to take this out.
20 is out. Number 21.
This is very clever, and I like the concept. Taking a couple leaves and pencils, putting them on a bright background, whether or not this was backlit or on an actual light box, I don't know for sure. Probably not, because you've got the shadows on the colored pencils. But I love the fact that you've got the colors in the leaves matching the colors in the pencils. And this is very, very clever. Maybe one more leaf, I think, would have been nice because you kind of have some dead space in the upper right-hand side of this image. But I like the concept. We'll keep it in.
21 is in. 23.
These are always fun to shoot. In fact, I have to admit, just a couple weeks ago, early November, I was out photographing leaves in the water myself. What you have to do, though, is get closer because people want to see the detail of the leaves and they want to see the leaves up closer. Again, I don't know if you were able to do this. It looks like a shore, whether or not you were on a dock or near a dock, or maybe just a longer lens, longer in focal length that allows you to get closer. What I would like to see, and I would certainly tell the photographer, I would go back, make a couple copies of this image and do some tighter crops, like say 1/3 or 1/4, and see how that then becomes a more impactful image. Again, shooting leaves like this in water is a really great concept and a great tool In fact, some results of shooting leaves like this can be quite allegorical in nature, if you will, because here again, we're showing an autumn transition and the death of these leaves. That's basically what we're showing here. And one can really, really get deep into this if you allow yourself. But I would go back and try some like 1/4 or 1/3 crops and see how that looks to you. For that reason, I'll take this out.
23 is out. Number 24.
Great geometry. You have layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. I mean, that's the first thing that you see here. However, this not being a Maryland layer cake, you have too many here. It's unfortunate, and I don't know what your circumstances were, but the top part of the image in the distant mountains, they just don't belong here. What you should have done is gotten closer to those beautiful, beautiful yellow plants with that tree line in the background and get down closer to the ground, shooting maybe up a little bit. And I think this would have been just a outrageously great image because of your lighting. The lighting is coming from your left into the image. And if you look closely at the lower right-hand part of the image where you have the cluster of colored plants, the yellow is just exceptional because you have a lot of detail there and you don't have any of the green image encroaching upon it. So I would have loved to have seen that and given you the opportunity to really explore this a little bit more. And again, I don't know what your timing was or what opportunity you had, but I think I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of that up closer with a little bit more detail. Out.
24 is out. 25.
Color for sure, and a reflection as compared to all the green. This is a real contrast in color, and I like this. However, the plant that's in the foreground is really encroaching and distracting from the leaves or the trees that are out in the distance, plus your reflection. I just feel as if your composition just doesn't cut it. You've got really two things here for me to look at. I can look at your trees and reflection. You do have a bald sky. There's very little there, so you might want to fix that. And then you've got all this greenery up front. Again, I like the concept of the colors versus the green to show that dichotomy of within the season. But I think a different composition, a different perspective, maybe a different focal length would have given you something a little bit more dramatic to really drive that message home. But I like this from that concept. However, we'll take it out.
25 is out. Number 26.
Another high frequency image, meaning you have a lot of edges and a lot of detail because of the reflection. You have all the leaves that are in the water. The back of the image with the colored trees is a little hot. I think this can be toned down a little bit in terms of exposure, which would then allow you to bring out some of the beautiful shadows that you see on the right leading up to the walkway or I don't think it's a dock. It looks like more of a walkway in an overview of the pond to really give you the sense of presence. One other trick would be using a vignette to cut down the corners to have the viewer's eye go to the back of those trees. This is a good attempt, but again, I don't know if you were limited as to when you could visit this, because it was obviously almost midday and everything was in full sun. If you don't have the choice of coming back. I don't know how many of you still use neutral density filters, but this is a good example of having a neutral density filter to knock it down 3, 4, 5, 6 stops because of the brightness of this image. And you would wind up with a totally different looking image that would be very, very acceptable. So we'll take this out.
26 is out. Number 27.
These are always fun to play with. However, to effectively come up with a really, really good, meaningful image using intentional camera movement can be and is frustrating. I've done these over the years. Other people have done these over the years, and you wind up doing about 100, maybe come out with one that really works. What I recommend, I love the colors here. Excuse me. But what I would try is actually play with the crops of this as well. I'm looking at the middle part of this image with the greens and the reds and the yellows, those yellow fall colors, and seeing and counterpoint those as a color composition as opposed to a straight ICM. Look at it from a color composition. In fact, I would take the middle part of that image in a big rectangle, get rid of the double lines that you see there, and then take a look at that and see how it portrays. I think, again, it'll be a more successful image because right now you've got several distracting elements of the photograph. The lower right-hand corner, going down below the frame, you have some hot areas, and you've got some hot areas in the upper right-hand corner, and just a wee bit little white thing in the upper right-hand corner sticking out there. So I would go back and crop and play with the middle part of that image. In fact, I would draw the rectangle at a diagonal and then actually rotate it to get it into a rectangle within Lightroom. That's very easily done. But I like the colors here. Unfortunately, we'll take it out.
27 is out. Number 28.
Another death knell. We've got a couple leaves in a seed pod. This is so typical fall and autumn. It's a very, very stark image. Personally, I wish it had a few more elements within it to kind of fill the frame, because you've got some dead space, if you will, in the lower right-hand part of this. You've got a couple clouds, bit of a background. I'm glad that the photographer used the bokeh, but this is just too simple for a composition. Try a different perspective, a different focal length, and go back. I love the fact that you've got your leaves backlit. I think that's a very, very positive thing to do. The seed pod can probably withstand a little bit of lightening up because there is no light coming from the front part. So just kind of go in there and dodge that a little bit to give it a little bit of texture. Otherwise, your eye just gets sucked in and it doesn't come back out. So we'll take this out.
28 is out. Number 29.
I'm not too sure what the photographer wanted me to look at here. If it's autumn, you want color, obviously trees, but here we have almost a totally bare tree in front of other trees with a person taking a picture of that. The size differential is certainly appreciated. You have a little bit of a jet stream in the mid left-hand side here in the sky, and you've got an actual pretty azure blue sky. Maybe a little bit more of the tree to the right or a little bit more of the actual landscape to give me a little bit more context as to exactly what you saw in this particular scene. I'm just not getting it. I'll take it out.
29 is out. Number 30.
Visual weight, again, lovely portrait of the young lady playing in the leaves. You do have certainly the color, but what part of this image is occupied by the leaves or the color? Maybe a third. The rest is the house, the air conditioner, and the young lady. Again, to me, just doesn't really fit the theme. It is a good picture, not badly composed. If it were me, I would have made sure to get the bottom part of her legs and her feet to make the image a little bit more complete, give me a little bit of foreground as well. It's exposed pretty well, so I compliment the photographer on that. But if you want to do a portrait, do a portrait. But I don't think it really fits the theme. Out.
30 is out. Last one, 31.
Very, very dramatic. Obviously, the color red is just mind blowing sometimes. And these particular seed pods really just do stand out. You've got a dark background, so you have that high contrast in terms of color. You've got the beautiful greens, you've got the yellows in the upper part with the other seed pod, and your leaves, if you notice, are occupying a diagonal. You have lower left plus upper right, so your eye tends to go up and then around with the colors. The only negative thing that I could say about this image is I wish there was a little bit more of the upper seed pod. I mean, it looks like it got cut off. I don't know what was there or not there, but if that upper part was included with a little bit of space like you have the other ones, this just would have been totally, absolutely stunning. In?
Okay, 31 is in. Let me go back. I think I've got a total of 13.
Okay, let's go back and take some out.
Yeah, let's double check and make sure that we do, you have 11? Okay. Go back through here. Yep, certainly enough. 11 on the screen.
Okay, do me a favor. Just make the thumbnails a little bit bigger, and I'll just do it right here. Yep. Okay, so we need to get to 7.
Correct.
Perfect, perfect. So we need to remove. Okay.
Ed, you can either remove or you can start placing, and whatever doesn't get anything just will fall off the end.
No, let's get down to 7. So top row. Let's remove number 1 and 3.
Number 1 is image number 2, Misty Morning 2.
Yes.
And I'm guessing what number now?
It's number 2.
Is it
The
number 2?
gentleman with the dog in the forest.
That one right there?
Yes, take that out, please.
Take out, that's image number 5, Autumn Exercise.
I need to remove 2 more. So let's remove second row, number 7, the leaf caught in the branch.
That is number 19, Safe Landing. That is out.
Okay, and we need 1 more. Let's remove the pencils and the 2 leaves, number 7. I hate to do that because that's pretty clever.
That is image number 21, Colored Autumn.
Okay, so let me give you 1, 2, and 3,
Okay.
and the rest will be honorable.
First through fourth, yes, and honorable.
I'm sorry, 4. I'm sorry. I keep on saying 3.
No
First
problem.
4, yes. Well, let's start with first place, and that will be image number 2. That's first place.
Okay.
Second place will be let's do image number 6 for second place. Thank you.
And for Ron, that's first is image number 6. Second is image number 15.
Okay, number 2 will be image number 6, Wild and Wonderful.
Okay. Third place is image number 10.
And image number 4 will be image number 7.
Fourth place
And-
being number 31.
And on a different day, I might have arranged them differently, but they're all very nicely indicative of autumn. Couple things here and there, but certainly the image for first place, I think, is very, very well done.
Okay, Ron, just for checks and balances, honorable mentions are going to number 4, number 8, and number 9.
Right.
Okay, let's introduce tonight's winners. Honorable mention to Fall Falls, and that is Timothy Hughesgen.
Congrats.
Yeah, this is somewhere in West Virginia. I wish I could remember exactly where, but it was a fall workshop, and it was, don't remember where exactly it was.
It's not, were you along the Western Maryland Trail in West Virginia that used to be a railroad bed? Blackwater?
Yeah, it's near Blackwater up in
Okay.
Canaan Valley.
Right, that's what I thought. This looks like Blackwater.
Honorable mention to image number 8, end of season, and that is Catherine Rush. I didn't see her here. Okay. Next honorable mention to image number 4, Crazy Gourds, Kathleen Steele. I think I saw her. Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, that was taken last year when I was visiting somebody in Ohio, and it was a pumpkin festival basically.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a challenge taking all those gourds.
Oh, yes, they are. They are. Yeah, I mean, again, one would think this would be an easy shot to do, but once you get it home and look at it and play with your depth of field, you're like, I could have done this, I could have done that, you know. But the colors are spectacular, and it's a very nice composition, too.
Fourth place to image 31, Chinese Lanterns in Alley, Catherine Rush.
Yeah, these are pretty.
Third place, image number 10, West Virginia Tree Line, and that is Catherine Rush as well. She gets a red, white, and blue. Congratulations, Catherine. And then second place, number 15, Beauty of Aging, and that is Deborah Davis.
Nice.
And then finally, first place is image number 6. That is Misty Morning, Timothy Hughesgen again.
Nice. Timothy, where was that?
This is West Virginia again. This is actually
Okay.
Spruce Knob Lake, but if you look away from the lake, this is what you see. And there's
Okay.
usually fog in the morning up there, so
Oh, yeah,
it's just
That's a
180
gorgeous area.
the one
used
picture I
to,
had.
uh,
Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
No, one of the earlier pictures that got rejected was the same scene, just looking towards the lake with the dock. And this
Okay.
is just 180 degrees from there.
I kind of thought, yeah, the style was very similar, and I was curious about that, so thank you for saying that. Yeah, this is, the Spruce Knob area is really a very nice area to go to. I used to do quite a few train shoots, chasing the trains down there, and that's where Cass is located too, Cass Scenic Railway, which is a nice place to go. And just the landscapes can be just stunning. So nicely done.
For the one that Deborah Davis had, she's online and she says her picture was taken in Patterson Park.
Which one was that?
Okay, great. See, it's something as simple as this. See, this is, I mean, one could sit here and almost write a poem about that picture in terms of just the change of seasons, death, and
15?
the recycling of elements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I won't bore you with any details, but this just really says that. So this can be, quite exhausting in terms of taking it into an area that one never really thinks about. Very nice.
Okay, let's go ahead and move over to the unlimited category.
Can I take a quick break?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me just, give me about a minute and I'll be right back.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you.
Give us 1 minute. John has stepped away just for a moment.
No problem. Thank you. Any questions about any of the images? I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Did you hear if Ed came back or not?
He's back.
Oh, good.
We were waiting for you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, JC. Okay, Ed, I heard you were back.
I am back. Thank you.
Okay.
We have 39 in this group.
Yes, that will be first through fourth and 4 honorable mentions.
So 8.
So 8, you're correct. Okay, here we go. Number 1, leaves.
John, we'll go through all 39.
Yes. Number 2, garden. Number 3, curly tips. Number 4, Wisconsin farm in autumn. Number 5, autumn desert hike. Number 6, golden silk orb weaver. Number 7, Sturgeon Bay. Number 8, harvest time. Number 9, leaf with droplets on roof. 10, seasonal transition. 11, Gothic color. 12, Hazel Mount Overlook tree. 13, Rocky Gap Lake. 14, Blue Ridge Parkway in October. 15, Japanese maple in autumn glory. 16, plowed field. 17, Ritchie. 18, catch a falling leaf and put it in your pocket. 19, migration. Number 20, red leaf. 21, seasonal change. 22, red tractor. 23, autumn still life. 24, pumpkins. 25, wink. 26, Great Falls. 27, Autumn Farm. 28, Foggy Fall on Church Creek. 29, Huntley Meadows Park Fall Colors. 30, The Trap is Set. 31, Sun-Kissed Appalachian Trail. 32, View of a Cascade. 33, Abandoned Bus. 34, Changing Time. 35, Autumn's Embrace. 36, Burba Lake. 37, Fall Reflection Centennial Lake. 38, Gun Sight Notch. And 39, El Capitan. I'm going to go back to number 1, and it's all yours, Ed.
Thank you. Go full screen, F. Okay, nicely represented. A number of leaves as a composite image with a beautiful complementary color background. I normally don't describe an image, but I wanted to point out what the main features are and why people may find this attractive. And I do find this to be very, very attractive. You literally have 4 images within a 5th, namely your background. So when you're out photographing, I know people who will literally visualize an image and say, okay, I'm going to photograph this, this, and this, and put it on this sort of background. And that's what this reminded me of. And this is very well done. In?
Number 1 is in. Number 2.
Nice composition with the leading line with going over the bridge. You've got several dark areas in here, though, that show little to no either shadow detail or detail at all, namely to the far right upper right-hand corner and the lower left under the bridge. I'd like to see that opened up just a little bit. Also open up the light within your mums that are in the lower right-hand corner. And I think this image would become more alive, if you will. But I do like the composition. The sky can be dropped down a little bit in terms of exposure, maybe a simple gradient. And if you open up the other areas, I think you'll see a more vibrant, more alive sort of image. In?
Number 2 is in. Number 3.
Great concept again to show the change of the plants, not only in color, but in shape and texture. The lighter areas, however, of this leaf are a little bit blown out. I'd like to see them toned down just a little bit. And you've got some artifacts within your bokeh that kind of detract from the image itself. If you look at the central uplifted part and just look just below it, you see this line that looks like a semicircle. That can be dealt with very easily within post-processing, but I find that distracting, as well as the tips of the leaves being a little bit hot and being overexposed. Out.
Number 3 is out. Number
A lot of rectangles here. That's all I saw. I saw box on top of box on top of box on top of box. Possibly a different perspective would have worked better. Plus you've got, I think, too much foreground here. It's almost like 1/3 of your picture. talking about visual weight again, it's what do you want me to look at? You want me to look at that green field or the buildings, not necessarily the sky, but the foreground is really competing with those buildings. And I know you probably wanted to include most of the buildings to get you a feel of the autumn color and the change in seasons. But I think if you stood to the left or stood to the right, I don't know exactly which would have been better. You might have gotten a different composition. Also, your light's a little flat in this image where nothing really stands out. It's your exposure is even all the way across. And so you've got a very limited dynamic range. And I'd like to see that to expand a little bit. So I'm going to take this out.
Number 4 is out. Number 5.
Certainly a different take on autumn. When I first saw this, I immediately said, yeah, this is the high desert. Because you don't necessarily see a lot of the vibrant color that one is used to out here in the East. And it is different out West and in other places within the world. I do love the leading line of the path with this and the gentleman walking up the path, but it just doesn't say autumn to me. Again, very subjective. It is exposed well. I like the composition, but it just doesn't say autumn. So I'm going to take it out.
Number 5 is out. Number 6.
I wanted to love this image, and I love wildlife, insects, different animals, different seasons, different lighting conditions. And the main focus of this image obviously is the spider, and it just isn't in sharp focus. Plus the abdomen, the back part of the spider is really, really overexposed. And I know sometimes this can be very, very difficult to get, but you really have to watch your exposure. If you're shooting something small like this, I highly recommend you change your exposure function, mainly, not matrix, but go down to spot metering. So your camera is metering on that particular insect and not the rest of your image. And you'll get back that detail and you'll get back the texture and it won't be blown out like this is. So unfortunately, I'm going to take this out.
Number 6 is out. Number 7.
Nice view of all of the domiciles, the colorful trees. Obviously, just say, look at us. This is fall, and it's the lighting that kind of helps this, and the lighting that kind of kills it. Again, looks like it was taken during the day. I'd love to have seen this either in the morning or in the evening to give me a little bit more character, more shadows, and more detail in terms of the hill behind it and the trees that you have surrounding the crown of that hill. I'm going to take this out.
Number 7 is out. Number 8.
This is quite nice, and you certainly do have a very, very nice view of the fields, and they're different in terms of what's present in the fields, which gives the image a little bit of variety. I do, though, want to see a little bit more of that road to the left. I don't know if you could have moved to your left to include more of that road, because then you've got this beautiful leading line taking you up into the image, looking at the fields, then coming back again. I'd also reduce some of the sky that you have. You can probably bring it down maybe an inch or inch and a half, because really you want people to look at those fields. And I'm looking for also some color in the trees. And I see no color in the trees whatsoever. Again, it is autumn. I understand harvest times vary from region to region, but I like to see a little bit more of that hint that yes, this is the fall of the year. So I'm going to take this one out.
Number 8 is out. Number 9.
This is very intriguing. Love the geometry, a lot of triangles here. I would crop this in a little bit on the left and on the right and the top, and really have the viewer focus on those leaves with the water. Again, the concept of visual weight. You have a lot of your image to the left and right, especially, that I don't think really add much to this. You can bring it in on the left and right, still have those triangles, and have your viewer's eye goes to those leaves. Now, the leaves that are in the background, they're a little bit too bright. Those need to be burned down, so you're not competing with those 2 leaves right up front. But this is a nice concept. In
Number 9 is in. 10.
Wonderful picture. You've got glorious texture on that rock wall. You've got multiple colors in the rock wall besides the foliage that's right up front. You're having just a change in color to indicate that, hey, this is no longer summer. Your greens are getting a lot lighter, and they tend to fade towards yellow. So you have that transition going on with a little bit of reflection also. It's very well exposed. You have some rocks to the far right that's almost mid-frame on the far right that need to be toned down just a little bit, because again, your eye is going to go to the brightest part of this picture. In.
Number 10 is in. 11.
This is a nice concept. I've never seen this done before. Certainly, I've seen pictures of church windows or other pieces of architecture shot from the inside. But here, the photographer took the time to get a shot like this with autumn leaves, with those colors showing the change in season. So I like that the photographer did that. I wish, though, that the top of the image, the top of the frame of this window was more in view. Again, a different focal length, backing up maybe a little bit. I don't know if that were possible, or even just a longer lens to allow you to compress that image. But the fact that you've got the colors in the window itself is very, very well done. You have a couple hot areas on the bottom, one in mid right-hand side that's a little hot. So I would knock those down a little bit to accentuate the colors. In.
11 is in. Number 12.
Very stark, almost abandoned. It's by itself. It has a bit of a grain associated with it. I don't know if that was on purpose or it needs to be denoised, but the effect is there. And you've got this wonderful layering of light with a vignette, as I've been suggesting, to put into an image where you may have one overall exposure that would really detract from the image, as opposed to have your viewer focusing in on what you want to say. You have a little bit of foreground, which is fine, and you've got this tree, quote unquote, center focused within your image, which is fine, because it really is an isolation technique. We'll keep this in.
12 is going to be in. Number 13.
nice range of color, but this is very typical of actually what we saw, at least where I live around here in Maryland, during the fall. The colors just weren't popping. They were very drab, very brown. Your lake here also is a little bit reflective of that. And you just don't see those vibrant colors, those vibrant shapes, and it just kind of all runs together. You have a little bit too much sky in this image, and it is, of course, a bald sky, but still, if you drop that down a little bit and go back and work on those individual trees in the background, to give it a little bit more pop, I think you'll have a much better image. But this is unfortunately a lot of what we saw. Different lighting conditions also might be a consideration. I'll take this out.
13 is out. Number 14.
I love the fact that you've got this great leading line. You see this just all up and down the Blue Ridge, and it really is a phenomenal piece of road. However, autumn, I want to see autumn. I see a couple leaves sitting on the side of the road. I mean, that could be just about any season. It is actually a pretty good exposure, but I want to see autumn. Give me autumn. I want to see something that says autumn, not necessarily getting on the road and going to look at this. Out.
14 is out. Number 15.
Wonderful, wonderful colors smack dab in the middle of this picture. I want to see more. Get in closer. The bridge and the construction of the bridge rails to the right of the Japanese maple are just so blown out. It really, really detracts from the beautiful maple. I don't know if you could walk around or get to it from a different perspective, but the Japanese maple itself is just absolutely fantastic. I mean, the colors are just crazy, and it's unfortunate this wasn't a larger part of your image. Again, talking about visual weight, okay? So I would go back, I mean, if you ever have a chance to go back, and redo this shot, because those colors are to die for. Out.
15 is out. Number 16.
Classic image. You can see this on the side of the road anywhere you are in and around where I live. I'm very close to rural areas, and you've got a very nice copse of trees with the field being cut down the way it was. And again, it says fall. I wish, though, that it had a little bit more something else within this image, either a person, a tractor, maybe some wildlife, some animals feeding, whatever. It's just very, very plain, very simple, and I just wanted to see more. This image maybe could have gotten, or it could have been a better image if you were focused in a little bit more just on the trees. Remove that bald sky from your image, use a vignette, and really focus on the trees. Keep a little bit of the field for sure, all right? But again, if you look at the percentage of this image as to what is the foreground, what is the trees, and what is the sky, your trees are occupying maybe 25 to 30% of the image. So again, what do you want the viewer to look at? Out.
16 is out. Number 17.
Nice portrait, and you got the eyes of this individual. You've got your autumn colors, but again, this is a portrait. I don't think that it really fits the category per se. I like that you've got a little bit of bokeh. That red in the left-hand part of this image, I find distracting. It would have been better if it were green. And that way you kind of simplify the colors, because that red part in the lower left-hand corner is actually competing with this gentleman's shirt. Okay. Your eye will go back and forth. And if you stare at it long enough, you'll see your eye go back and forth. But again, it's a portrait. It's not necessarily fitting the theme. Out.
17 is out. Number 18.
Wonderful concept. I looked at this image and I said, okay, did he place it there or was he just playing with this? Must have had an assistant to throw these leaves up in the air, da 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 da. Again, that's really besides the point, but the image is very, very well done. I like the fact that he included the jet stream, but I would still put a bit of vignette and knock that down in terms of brightness and exposure, because that is the brightest thing in this image, and my eye immediately goes to it. So either you put a vignette in to knock it down, or just clone it out and then just crop in a little bit more from the left to really show the viewer, hey, this leaf is floating. This is coming down off of a tree, or it's floating because of one other reason. And it's a nice, nice way to show autumn with wonderful colors. All the other trees are nice and sharp, and you've got some great shapes here. In.
18 is in. Number 19.
Love this. This is just an amazing experience if you ever get to see snow geese when they migrate. I highly recommend it. I would have taken this image though and cropped it, get rid of all those trees at the bottom, and come in and do a bit of a closer crop left, primarily bring it in from the right, just to show the birds in the sky, period. That's all you need to show. You don't need any sort of background per se, because let's face it, the subject matter are the birds. And if you look at this image a little bit more closer, look at the image closer, excuse me, it almost becomes an abstract if you don't know that these are birds. And that's what makes these sorts of images just absolutely fascinating, just to look at and stare at. In.
19 is in. Number 20.
Definitely fall. You've got your wonderful colors, and this is very, very well done. This looks like the underside of a leaf, not the top, and everything is in perfect condition. Whenever you shoot leaves, sometimes people tend to forget they will have imperfections, they will be chewed on, they'll have some rust on it, like a plant disease or whatever. And that takes away from your image. You really have to look for very, very clean leaves. And this is a clean leaf. You have a lot of geometry here. If you look carefully, you'll see all of the, not only the polygons, but a lot of triangles. If you look at the veins, you've got two major triangles and another one and another one and another one and another one. So again, it takes your eye and it takes it from left to right as you walk down the vein of this leaf. In.
20 is in. Number 21.
Here is another good example of, I think if the focal length was different and it focused more into the mist and the trees, you can keep some of the foreground, but I really wanted to see a more intimate shot, if you will. In other words, get closer and give me more of a wide angle view and get in closer. That's also a very favorite technique of photographing people, especially on the street or doing candids. Get closer, move your body and get closer. because you have some really nice, beautiful depth here. If you look straight in the center of this image, and you've got more vertical lines with your trees disappearing within the fog, this could have been a really, really nice, moody image with that fog and all the verticalness of those trees. There's very few, if any, coloration in here showing that it's fall. But again, this could have been a good visual treat, if you will, if you got more intimate with this setting. Out.
21 is out. Number 22.
Wonderful geometry, showing the different lines that have been created by this farmer in his field. And I wanted to see more color. I know it's green. You don't have any fall colors in here. Excuse me. I know this is what farmers do in the fall to plow down their fields. So I'll accept it from that perspective. But I wanted to see a little bit more differentiation in the color between the browns and the greens. Obviously, your tractor does stand out because it's red, but I wanted to see a little bit more pop within the color. So again, the lighting here is very flat, as you can see. So give me a little bit more contrast and maybe a little bit more green to this. And I think this image will really start to take on a life of its own. Out.
22 is out. Number 23.
Wonderful still life, showing the seasons. Great color, great theme, nicely vignetted, nicely lighted. Let me look at mine that I have here. I just want to make sure. Yeah, the lighting on this is a little bit better that I have here on my computer, because on screen here, the top of the corn looks a little bit blown out, but the original image I have is not. It's got a lot of detail in it, and it looks really, really good. It's a very nicely exposed image. In.
23 is in. 24.
Very similar to the previous in terms of a still life. I think, though, the focus of this image is the actual pumpkin and the little pumpkins around it. I think a more aggressive crop, keeping some of the foreground and some of what you have around it, but to get in a little bit more closely, I think really would have created a more dramatic image. I'm actually doing that on my computer right now. And yeah, that would have been more impactful. Although this is very well done. You just have too much around it, because let's face it, again, what do you want people to look at? You want people to see that carved pumpkin. You want to see the other small pumpkins around it. You've got plenty of foliage still there, so it wouldn't take much just to do a better crop. Out.
24 is out. 25.
I had trouble with this one. I've never seen a sunflower look like this in the fall. It is a very nice photograph of a sunflower, but it's obviously not autumn. Unless I'm totally off base here, I've never seen a sunflower like this in October. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll take it out.
25 is out. Number 26.
Nice example of the gorge, the Potomac River Gorge at Great Falls. And again, slow shutter photography is de rigueur for going there and getting some nice, beautiful compositions. This is a nice composition of the gorge itself. I'd like to see the colors pop a little bit more. Again, unfortunately, our colors here did not really develop that dramatically. It was just a little drab in areas, and Great Falls was no exception. The colors were just not that great because it was so dry this summer that the colors just really didn't develop. This is very well done. I would put a little vignette around it though to knock down your four corners. But this obviously does say autumn in.
26 is in. 27.
When I first saw this, it's like this is where grandma lives. I thought it was a very poignant sort of image. Obviously, fall. It's got a nice leading line from the driveway leading into where the buildings are, and you've got a nice foreground. Um, Wonderful sky. I don't think you need as much sky as what you have here, but it really is just a very nice, well composed image. You could crop it a little bit more from the left just to get rid of that little distraction that looks like a covered roof, a curved roof, and bring it in more towards that pine tree. And just, have these colors really just stand out. We'll leave this in.
27 is in. Number 28.
This is a nice concept as well, although the middle part of this image with the lighter foliage is just not there. It's just too blown out, and I can't differentiate it from the mist in the back. I wanted to really, really like this image because I do like the concept. I think maybe if the photographer got a little bit closer, if they could, remove those two trees. I know you wanted to use them to frame the overall image, but what is to the left and the right of each tree is not adding anything to this image. Your image is really this middle part where you have those white pieces of plants plus the dock behind it that's in the mist. So next time you see something like this, really focus in on what you're looking at and how that exposure is going to affect the rest of your image. Again, the type of exposure, of your type of metering in some of these images can really dramatically impact your image, either, matrix, center weighted, or point. Again, that can affect your exposure big time. It all depends upon what you think is important in your image. Take this one out.
28 is out. Number 29.
Certainly, fall, there's some more of our drab colors. I wanted to see a different focal length for this, where you have something a little bit more focused. You have this beautiful foreground, you've got the marshes, you've got the trees in the background, but it's like too much to look at. It's too much to take in. It's not like you're photographing a mountain chain, a mountain range with a lot of dramatic light, etc. In fact, the light here again is very flat. Your dynamic range is very limited, and it's just not, the impact of an image such as this is just very, very low. It's a great documentary type of image to show what the meadows looks like in the fall. And from that perspective, it does its job. But from a impactful image telling me a story, it's just not there. Out.
29 is out. Number 30.
If you're gonna shoot a web, then by all means, photograph the web. Get in closer. Again, move your body, get in closer. Notice how little of this entire frame talking about visual weight again, how little much of the frame the spider web is taking up. In fact, all I see is the web. All right. I know you have a lot of other pieces in and around it, but the main web is really the focus of this image. Get in closer, show me more detail, give me a story, show me what's going on. And unfortunately, it's not there. The left side of this image is too dark, the right side of the image is too bright, and the bottom is too bright as well. Again, exposure, exposure, exposure. Out.
Number 30 is out. 31.
Classic, traditional, let's go for a walk. Looked like it was done later in the day when the light is a little bit more yellow. I would have probably played a little bit with my white balance though, to differentiate the yellows and greens and reds, because you do have quite a bit of yellow in this image, which to me takes away the ability to differentiate the different colors. It obviously is in the fall. You got a leading line with the path, and it's actually very well composed. This reminds me, and of course, the title is part of the Appalachian Trail, but it reminds me of what hikers talk about when they hike the trail, especially if you're a hiker from out west. They come out east, and it's like you're totally walking through a cave of trees because you're totally covered by trees all the time, which is very interesting. There are very, very few open peaks out east. So from that perspective, I mean, this can be rather a nice image. We'll keep this in.
31 is in. 32.
This is very clever. I've seen other images using these crystals, and I like the fact that the photographer included the context, the rest of the image outside of the crystal. I don't know if this is a composite or this is the way it was actually photographed, but I like the way this was handled. If I were to play with this image a little bit, I would probably crop it a little bit more tightly though. You've got some strange geometry on top that looks like a bit of a triangle that's protruding. Bring it in a little bit from the right and just a hair in from the bottom, just to make it a tighter image. But I actually like what the photographer is trying to accomplish here. In.
32 is in. 33.
Another classic field image showing not only the change in season, but a little bit of ill repair of the bus sitting in the weeds, and of course the building right next door. The foreground is actually handled well, maybe a little crop in from the bottom and a little bit of vignette and just a little bit of tonal contrast within the image to make some of the colors pop, such as the tree and the side of that building. Because you don't want that upper right part of the image distracting away from the rest of what you have here. Your focus really is the tree, the building, and the bus. In.
33 is in. 34.
Framing an image through a piece of architecture can be challenging. And I think this is a good example of that. I like that the photographer did this. He's got some wonderful color just on the other side of these columns. But what distracts me, believe it or not, is that building in the background. where you've got multiple things going on here. So where do you want my eye to rest? You want me to rest on the color, or do you want me to continue to going to that building in the background? The exposure of the foreground is actually well done. It is partially in shade, partly in sun, and you still have all the detail and texture. But I question what the intent of the photographer was, just to show me the color or to show me that building back there. Again, visual weight and what's important to your particular image. I'm going to take this one out.
34 is out. Number 35.
Nice concept, but I want to see more of what you have in the foreground, which is part of the statue. I like the fact that it's only part of the statue because we don't like shooting other people's work, but her face is in shadow, which I think is not good. It just is, it's like a negative connotation. I like the fact that you've got the leaves there touching the statue on the head, around the neck, the hair. I mean, it almost can be a story in itself. Bring down the crop from the top, give it a vignette, and open up that face. You don't have to do the entire sculpture, but bring out that face a little bit more, and you might be able to develop a bit of a story. Out.
35 is out. Number 36.
Drab, drab, and more drab. Here, the water is actually very, very brown because of the reflection of the foliage around it. Again, this is a great example of what kind of colors most places on the East Coast had. I mean, obviously some were better than others, but this is just, it's almost got no color other than the sky. To tell me it's autumn, and you've got a lot of water here showing the reflection of the sky. So to me, it looks as if you've got this beautiful sky, which is exposed and processed nicely, reflected in this brown water, which is not very attractive. And it's separated by these dull plants. You know, I'm sorry, but it's just drab, drab, and more drab. I'll take this one out.
36 is out. 37.
I almost thought if this were a painting, it almost like it was hand colorized. The colors are just so extreme that in terms of showing a scene to be in the fall is just so off the scale of color that one would have to say this was a painting or it was stylized, and it just doesn't work for me at all. I think it's over processed. You've got some of the colors to be very discordant, if you will, with the reds and the yellows, and the greens look very unnatural. Just way, way too much processing. So I'm going to take this out.
37 is out. 38.
Very typical of out west, with your aspens turning into this glorious gold. You actually have a hint of red here and there. I don't know what kind of plants those are. And you've got the notch, the stone, really very, very well exposed. Here is another example, though, of an image I think that would benefit from a vignette in all four corners to, again, help focus the eye into where you want them to look. The perspective of the photo is very good because it does take you up into the notch. So that is very well done. Try the vignette, and I think it'll actually make a better image. In
38 is in, and 39.
classic, good foreground, not a lot of fall color. You can kind of see things are just starting to yellow out, so to speak. But then again, if you're not in a big aspen field, you're not going to see a lot of color out west that we do see here in the east. I do like the partial reflection of the mountain in the stream. And maybe if the photographer took off a little bit of the foreground, you'd have your eye move more up and down into the exposure of the rock face versus your partial reflection in the water. But it doesn't necessarily say autumn to me. So I'm going to take this out.
Okay, 39 is out. That is the end of our images for that. Let me pull this back and get a count. I have 16 images remaining. Does everybody have the same?
And we need to get to 8.
Correct.
Okay, that's good right there, Don. Okay, need to get down to 8. Let's take out top row. Let's take out number 2, the red walkway. Right. Take out
That is
Out.
image number 2.
Out.
Okay.
Let's remove same row. Let's remove the dead tree, number 5.
That is image number 12. That's out.
Okay, let's go to the second row. And let's take out 10 and 11.
10 is 27 Autumn Farm, and 11 is Sun-Kissed Appalachian Trail.
Correct. Okay, we need 3 more, 4 more. Okay, second row. Let's remove Great Falls and the bus.
This one here, 26.
Yep.
26 is out, and also the abandoned bus, 33.
Yep. I hate to do this, but we'll have to remove the snow geese.
Image 19, Migration.
Yep. One more. Top row, number 2. The leaves on the roof.
Number 9, A Leaf with Droplets on Roof is out.
Okay. So let me give you again 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the rest will be honorable.
Okay.
So I'll have to do image number 1 as first place.
That one there.
Yep.
Number 1
That's
is first place.
Second place will be image number 4. The falling leaf.
That is image 18 for second place. What's vibrating?
I'll do, the third place will be the still life, number 6.
That's image number 23. That is third place.
Yeah, that is very well done. And number 4. Number 4, wow. Either one of these could have gone up or down, but I'll keep number 4 image in the first row as number 4.
Image number 10 is fourth place.
And then the rest are honorable. And they could have placed, but just tonight I just felt those should be the top 4.
For Ron, the honorables are 11, 20, 32, 38. That's a bingo. Okay, winners for tonight. Honorable mention, gun sight notch, Cheryl Kerr.
Gunsight Notch is the notch of Seneca Rocks. And that's its name. I just learned that. And this picture was taken in October of 22.
Wow, I mean, it looks like a shot from out west.
Yeah, it was the most spectacular fall.
Yeah.
My husband and I spent the whole day out and about up in Dolly Sod. Then we hit this, and then we went up to Spruce Knob and the lake, and yeah,
Wonderful.
it was breathtaking that trip. But yeah, so Gunsight Notch is
Nicely done, yeah,
Thank you.
nicely
Thank you.
done. Thank you.
Honorable mention to View of a Cascade, that is Jackie Colstock. We'll see if Jackie has anything to say about that online. Honorable mention to Red Leaf, number 20, Mike Thomas.
I took that on the Chesapeake City field trip. I think it was some kind of hydrangea. I'd not. It was different
Okay.
than the hydrangeas I have, but they had all these stunning red leaves, and
Yeah.
I just handheld one up to the light and took a close-up shot of it.
Nice.
Well done, yeah, very well done.
Honorable mention to Gothic Color, and we should know that's Doug Wood.
He says Valley Forge Chapel, it's an open walkway with no glass in the framing.
Interesting.
Aha, okay. That's very clever. That was very well done. Yeah, nice composition.
Fourth place, Seasonal Transition, and that's Clarence Carville. Third place, Autumn Still Life, number 23. That is Mike Thomas again.
I'm notoriously bad at timing foliage shots, so this was in my basement. You know, went and bought the pumpkins and the
Sure.
Indian corn, and we had the flowers, and we had just been to the sunflower field, so I knew that was autumnish, and bought the, you know, and didn't use a couple of constant lights to light everything up in a
Yeah.
background and stuff. So.
Nicely done. Yeah. I know that the image that I have on my computer, the exposure is very, very well done. Online here, it looks a little blown out, but it's not.
Second place, Catch a Falling Leaf and Put It in Your Pocket, number 18. That is Debbie Wolf.
And Debbie is online, and she says, catch a falling leaf and put it in your pocket was taken laying on the ground. I was alone and throwing leaves. Didn't work out, so I held it sorry, my perspective changed. Didn't work out, so I held it above me and then photoshopped out my arm. Didn't even see the plane trail till I got home.
Isn't that the truth? You know, I was wondering if someone was holding it, all right, because it's tack sharp, okay? And doing it by yourself, yeah, I could see where that would be a trick and a half, you know? That reminds me of something that I was doing years ago. I was at the shore with my wife, and of course, if you're anywhere near a French fry stand and you have a bunch of seagulls, they love French fries. So I was doing something similar with you throwing the leaf up. I was throwing French fries up into the air, hoping to catch a seagull catching the fry in its mouth. And that's tricky to do. It's very tricky. I think I went through, $20 worth of French fries and 200 exposures before I got one. But yeah, doing it by yourself is tough. You need an assistant. But this is well done. Yeah, nicely done. And number one, drum roll, please.
Picture in first place is the result of 1 million pictures of leaves out in the yard.
Congratulations, Lewis, our first place winner. Okay, Christine, Ed, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And just a reminder, do not come to the church next week. Please join us at the Hockles for the Christmas party. There will be a elephant gift that is $25 or less.
Super. Thank you, guys. Happy holidays to everyone. Enjoy your family.